Welcome back, everybody. Today we're talking about absolute value. So the absolute value of a number is its distance from zero. So when we say some unknown thing, x, has an absolute value of 4, we're really saying what number could we plug in for x that would make that true? Well, 4 units from 0 is 4. Also 4 units from 0 is negative 4. So there are technically two answers that we could plug into this little guy that would solve our equation. That would be x equals 4 and negative 4. You can use a comma or the other notation I do on the next one. So 3 units from 0, y could equal 3 or negative 3. Now let's solve some of the problems we'll be giving you. So the big idea here is there's really two equations in disguise when you have absolute value bars. All right, so be looking for those on your next test. When we have an absolute value, our steps are to first isolate the absolute value, which in this case it already is. Then we're going to split it into two equations because there's 2 points that satisfy that distance thing, and then we're going to solve each. So step 1 is already done here because the absolute values by itself, there's no like other numbers on the outside of it. So we split it into 2 equations. Now the first equation looks just like the other, just with no absolute values. And the other equation has a negative there, all right? So pay attention to including that negative. That's only after it's isolated. Now we solve the equation, get an x equal 3, solve the other equation, bada bing, there we go. All right, let's do a couple more. So we're going to isolate, split, and solve. Now this one is not isolated. We got to get the absolute value alone before we even think about splitting it into 2 equations. So we want the absolute value bars all by themselves on one side of the equation. So we got to add 4 to both sides, kind of like the literal equations thing. We're absolute isolating something. We can multiply by a half, also known as dividing by 2. And that gives us absolute value equals 8. So now the absolute value bars are the only thing on the left side of equal sign. So now we can split it into 2 equations. Negative 8 and an 8 are on the other side of equal sign. And now we solve each and we get our 2 answers. Right? You can plug those back in and double check that they work. Watch the next video for the rest.